All right, we're going to jump right in today with an idea that might just short-circuit your brain a little bit. It's this. What if everything you think of as real, the entire world you see around you, isn't the actual world at all? What if it's just a user interface, one that's been perfectly designed just for you?
So, let's start right here. The chair you're on right now. Is it real? I mean, of course it feels real, right? It's solid, it's holding you up. But what if that feeling of solidity, that chairness, isn't a direct window into reality, but actually a very, very helpful illusion?
In this slide, this gets right to the heart of it. Just think about the icons on your computer screen. You see a little folder icon. You click it to open a file. You're not actually interacting with the millions of lines of code and the complex electronics that make it all happen. You're just using a simple, actionable symbol. Well, the wild idea we're exploring today is that your entire reality works exactly the same way.
Okay, so let's really dig into this idea of a reality user interface. The argument goes like this. Evolution didn't shape our senses to show us the objective, capital T truth. That's not its job. Its job was just to keep us alive.
This is the core of what cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman calls the interface theory of perception, and it really flips everything on its head. It suggests that trying to see the full, mind-bogglingly complex truth of reality would be, well, totally overwhelming and a massive waste of energy. It's just so much more efficient to see a simplified dashboard, a user interface, that tells you what you need to know to survive. You know, what to eat, what might eat you, and how to get from point A to point B.
So here's the kicker. The world you experience isn't some objective, one-size-fits-all thing. Nope, it's a highly personalized compression. It's a stable reality that's been specifically tailored to your finite abilities, your biological needs, and your evolutionary goals. And that, of course, leads to the big one, the massive question. If everything we see is just the user interface, just the icons on the screen, then what's the computer? What in the world is running in the background, generating this entire experience?
Well, this gives us a way to think about it. What the source material calls the sliced pipeline. It starts with this incredible concept called the Ruliad. Just imagine an infinite ocean of every possible computation that could ever exist. Then, you come along, the observer, with your limited senses and brain, and you act as a filter. That act of filtering, or slicing, carves out one tiny coherent little piece of that infinity, and that piece becomes the stable, effective world that you perceive.
Now, you might be thinking this sounds pretty out there, but this model isn't just pulled out of thin air. It's actually built by combining powerful ideas from computation, philosophy, and even math. Think of them like three different lenses that all converge to bring this radical new picture of reality into focus.
The first lens is that idea we just mentioned, the Ruliad, a concept from Stephen Wolfram. Think of it as the ultimate source code, not just for our universe, but for every possible universe that could ever be computed. It's the generative background of pure, infinite potential.
The second lens, believe it or not, comes from Buddhist philosophy. It's a concept called sunyata. Now, it's often translated as emptiness, but it doesn't mean nothingness. It means that nothing has a solid, independent identity all on its own. A chair is only a chair because of its relationship to you and to a floor and to the act of sitting. Everything exists only as part of a giant web of relations.
And the third lens is topos theory, which comes from a really advanced field of mathematics. To put it simply, it provides a kind of logic for context. It shows how truth doesn't have to be universal. A statement can be totally true from one point of view, inside one slice of reality, but completely false or even meaningless from another. In other words, truth is local.
Okay, so let's pause here. If we actually run with this model, that we're all living inside our own unique but overlapping slice of reality, what does that do to the whole project of science? Is science just an illusion too?
Not at all. The goal just shifts. Science is no longer this grand search for the single objective view from nowhere. Instead, it becomes the incredibly important craft of cartography. It becomes the art of mapping the stable, predictable, and robust patterns that show up inside our shared human interface. So, what we've always called the laws of nature, like gravity or thermodynamics, in this new model, we'd call them slice invariants. They aren't some universal commands written into the fabric of the cosmos. They're simply the most reliable and stable patterns, the most unglitchy icons, the buttons that always work on our particular human user interface.
Now this is a really important question, and you're probably already thinking it. If truth is local and reality is just an interface, doesn't that just mean it's all made up? That it's a total free-for-all, where my truth is just as good as your truth, no matter how crazy it is?
And the answer is a hard no. In fact, this framework demands more rigor, not less. It doesn't say truth is arbitrary, it says truth is contextual. A scientific claim isn't just true or false, period. It's true under these specific conditions of observation. For any truth claim to be valid, it has to name its context and work reliably right there within that context.
And this is where it all leads. This whole idea brings us to what might be its most profound implication. Because if we really are co-creating our reality through the very act of observing it, how does that change our relationship to the world and to each other?
Well, for one thing, once you truly grasp that you're interacting with icons, not the underlying machinery, a certain kind of arrogance just becomes impossible. Believing you have the one, final, ultimate truth about reality becomes a category error. It's like a computer user insisting the little picture of a folder is the actual complex digital file system. It just doesn't make sense, and that naturally leads to a bit of humility.
You can see the ethical shift right here. The whole posture of science could change from one of conquest to one of resonance. We move from extraction to participation, and we go from trying to find a single final truth to the much more interesting work of building better, shared worlds together.
And this quote from the source material just gets to the heart of it all. A really good scientific theory isn't just one that makes accurate predictions. The best theories, the ones that really matter, are the ones that also make us better participants in reality, the ones that enlarge our capacity to care, because it's that care that lets us build those shared worlds.
So in the end, we're left with this. This whole framework isn't just some fascinating abstract theory, it's a profound responsibility. If the world we experience is generated in this participatory dance between infinite potential and our own limited observation, then it hands us a creative role. And it leaves us with one last, really challenging question to think about. What kind of world are we choosing to bring into focus?